So let's start off by trying to get an impression from you in terms of a description of the prison system.
It's kind of hard to describe it because the times are what kind of uh, justify what's happening in the system at the time. Because I came in at a time when the system was at a far right area where a lot of the things that were going on in there weren't really questioned or audited, we'll say, by any kind of entity like any government agency. And then now it's way to the left where everything is audited and checked constantly by the government and other agencies. So it's really hard to explain how it reacts. It's just a sign of the times, I guess. Whatever the times are currently justifying what the prison system should be. That's how it's run.
Mm-hmm.
When I came in, the system was pretty much run by the officers and by the California Department of Corrections at the time. We did what we wanted, and handled our business the way we wanted to. And now, because times have changed, now we're more handcuffed ourselves to what they could and can't do. So now, with the times as they are now, more politically correct and things like that, we're almost more of a babysitter company than we are a actual Department of Justice or anything like that, because we're very limited on what we can do now, and almost to the point where inmates can kind of run the system. So it's a little different now. They're more now with that they say now, like with the Department of Corrections is now known as the Department of was CDCR. Before we were CDC, Department of Corrections. Now we're Department of California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Before it was not that; it was just the California Department of Corrections.
Okay.
When I first came in.
Okay.
So that's the change. You can see the change in just the name itself,
Sure.
right? We're trying to be nicer now.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't just like putting them in the prison and locking them up and dealing with them. Now it's trying to rehabilitate them to be more, proper and getting them, trying to get them back into the public instead of having the recidivism rate that we had, which was very high and probably still is.
How do you become a corrections officer?
Well, I mean, I can only speak for California because that's where I dealt with it, and that's what I'm speaking to of now, because the prison systems are all run different. I mean, every state has their own way. Even they have now whole private prison systems now that are run privately out of the government's hands. Mm-hmm. So as far as California Department of Corrections goes, very easy to get into, in a sense, is all you have to do is have a high school diploma. You go through a pretty thorough background check to make sure you haven't had any felonies, anything like that. You have to be 21, I believe, to come into the department now. You go through a academy. You have an academy. When I went through, it was 6 weeks. I believe it might be more now, maybe 8 to 10 weeks now. And where you learn all of a lot of things like weapons, how to, we use weapons sometimes in the department, batons, how to use a baton, some of the laws that we have to are required to know about when we're dealing with inmates, search procedures, all the things that we do in the system. We kind of get a little preview of that in the academy. Some physical, it used to be very physical. Again, times change. When I first went in, it was very physical. You had to be able to run a mile. You had to do all these push-ups and sit-ups and all these things. And now, because politically correct again, now we don't have to do that as much anymore. It's a little bit less of the physical, but not too hard to get into. As long as you were clean, didn't have anything in your background that would have any problems. High school, had a few jobs and things like that. It was relatively easy. The academy wasn't that hard. It was pretty easy to get through.
So you get through the academy. Mm-hmm. How do you get introduced actually into the prison?
Well, the first time you get introduced to the prison is in the academy. You go through, you're a cadet, they call you a cadet, and you're going through these, all these classes, and then you actually go to a prison. I remember I went to DVI, which is considered warrior training. At that time, it was a pretty harsh environment for in CDC at that time. So they take you there for a couple of days, and you're kind of introduced to the prison way. You're tasked with doing cell searches and dealing with inmates and going to the chow hall to watch them eat. So you get a little bit of that. The funny thing about that was that some of the correction officers that are in the department, of course, 20, 30 years, they would have some of the inmates set up, right? Set some of the cadets up, or like tell an inmate to go do something crazy, and then you'd have to deal with it to see how you would react.
Really?
Things like that. Yeah. So very interesting.
You have a few actors in the prison population who are happy to act up.
They love to help out, and that's how they do it. So they kind of, it's like a trial by fire, or so that's where you'd get your first taste of what it was like in a prison system, going through the gates in the academy. After that, you get tasked with your actual area you're going to go to. You're given a couple of choices on where you might work.
Oh, really?
And then you get to kind of pick on which one you'd like to go to.
What are the areas you can work in?
Well, as far as like up in northern California,
you mean in
Southern
terms of
California,
location?
the prison system. Yeah, you get to pick your prison. Depending on where you're needed, they might give you a choice of 3 different prisons to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to choose which one you want to go to if there's openings there. And then you're tasked with going to that prison. That's your prison where you're going to work at.
What are the hours that you work, and what's kind of the work routine?
Well, it depends on where you're working. There's so many different places to work in the system. You wouldn't really think that. We think everybody's just doing the same thing, and there is a vast array of jobs and things that are required to run a prison system. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 different shifts. You have day shift, swing shift, and night shift. Mm-hmm. And then within each shift, you have certain areas that have to be manned at all times. You have the front gate, the back gate. You have towers. You have mobile units in vehicles that circle the prison day and night. You have housing unit officers. You have yard officers. You have, depending on what part of the day, you might have education officers, because there was an education area you'd have to work. There was a prison industries area where they would be building things like what do they call those little things for, like, offices, modules?
Yeah, modules,
all kinds of things, furniture.
Vans,
yeah, we had a furniture shop. So a lot of different places and a lot of industries. At one time when I first came in, we actually had a pig farm, we had a ostrich farm, we had a chicken farm. Yeah, we had all these things too. We had a abattoir where they killed chickens, because we actually had, we were one of the industries that were making chicken for the rest of the prison systems. We'd freeze this chicken and send it out. Mm-hmm. There's a PIA area, Prison Industries Authority. They take care of all the things that are necessary for the inside of the institution: toilet paper, fax machines, all that stuff that's needed for the institution. So there's a lot of different things to do. There's actually hospital staff. You have hospitals that you have to deal with inside and out. You have transportation teams that run in between systems and between taking inmates to hospitals and back. So there's a lot of different things to do.
Wow.
There's so many different areas.
Didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, nobody does. You wouldn't think so. But it's a little city within itself.
Yeah.
Lots to do. Lots of things that have to be taken care of. You have kitchens that have to be manned. You have, what else? Education areas, hospitals, medical teams. You name it, and it's in there. And then you have what's known as the hole, which was ADSEG, which was the lockup, right? Mm-hmm. You hear the hole. We put you in the hole. That's the lockup area. Or if you were, not really doing too well in the GP or general population, that's where you went, into the hole. Yeah. And that's where you were housed in there. A little different housing area there. You were locked in a cell. Mm-hmm. And then the prison system in California has different levels, and each level is different. Level 4 is you're in a cell 23 hours a day. You come out 1 hour, mm-hmm. and you go right back in. That's your life. And those are lifers and the heavy guys that have done some pretty bad things. Level 3s, you can have filtered from either the lifers. Sometimes they get filtered down to the level 3s if they've been in long enough. Their points go down, so then they end up in the level 3 area. Mm-hmm. Or if, let's say, you have some really heavy, drugs, armed robberies, things like that. Level 3 is right there. Level 2 is mostly youngsters, a lot of drugs, things like that. And then level 1, it's just these guys have been filtered in. They've been in the system a long time, and they're filtered. Their points go down, and they're in like a little camp setting. They can actually work outside the fence and things like that. So depends on what level the system is, and each prison has its own levels.
Well, this is getting to be mind-boggling.
Yeah, there's a lot to know.
That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, a lot to know. There's a lot that goes on. People just see what you see on TV is just you're locked up with a guard, and that's really not the truth. It's a little city. Lots of things going on.
Do me a favor, move the door away from yourself because I don't want you to knock your head on that stupid door. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on in that. It's a little city. Lots going on. Lots of things going on inside.
So, what does a prisoner's day actually look like? Whatever way you want to break it down.
Okay, so like let's say in the morning we have a call in the morning at 6 o'clock is your first call. We wake everybody up, and it depends on the day. So this is how the morning starts. We wake everybody up. Now some of the inmates are going to work. They have jobs. Some of them are going to school. They have school. Some of them work in the Prison Industries Authority. They worked outside the fence. But you're giving them their wake-up call. So the first thing you do is all the lights come on and you say, everybody wake up at 6 o'clock. Here's your wake-up call. They start getting ready. And then the chow hall's open at 6. You send the workers out. This is each housing unit, right? Housing unit officers are sending the workers out. Hey, education and PIA, go ahead and go to chow. They all go out, go to the chow hall. They line up at the education area because they got to go through a little checkpoint. They're checked for metal and they're checked for any drugs and things like that. So those guys are going to work. So the second call is for everybody else. If you're not working, maybe you're just some inmates don't work. Some of them just hang out, stay on the yard. Some of them work on the yard. They have greenskeepers and trash crews, and they work on the yard. So the second call is, hey, everybody else go to chow, and everybody goes to chow. They come back to the housing unit. Okay. Within a couple of hours, officers walk around, do a unit check, and make sure that, believe it or not, that their beds are made and they're supposed to be clean and everything's supposed to be put to where they're supposed to be. Is it ever? Yeah. You try and tell a 50-year-old man to clean up his room. Yeah, try that. Doesn't always work, but because you have this in one housing unit at the institution I was at, you had 400 inmates in one housing unit, so it's packed. And so cleanliness was try to be as clean as possible. And then at that point, we have a gate for the housing unit, and it's open and closed, and it's hourly unlocks. You say unlock time, you unlock the gate, they can go in and out, and then you lock it up, and then they stay out. If they go outside, they stay out for an hour or whatever, and walk the yard, play ball, do whatever. And then the day goes on, lunchtime comes, same thing. Everybody comes back to the housing units. You release for lunches, everybody comes back, open up the yard again, same thing. And you go through that routine pretty much all day. As an officer, you're tasked with security of the building, so you're doing security checks, you're walking around trying to catch people doing goofy things, which they usually are. And then we do locker searches, we do bed searches, we do things like that, and then the day goes on. At about 6 o'clock, everybody's coming back from work and education and things like that, so everybody's back inside the housing units. We release for the dinner time, same thing. You release in sections. Section 1 goes, Section 2 goes, Section 3 go. Those sections go to chow. They come back, and then they open up the yard at about 7. 7 o'clock nighttime. You can go out to the yard about night, from 7 till about 9:30. 9:30, the yard's recalled. Everybody comes back in the house. That's it for the day. The yard's locked down, and then they go about their business in the housing unit. And usually they're watching TV, playing chess, playing cards, or in their little cubicles, whatever, hanging out with their friends, doing whatever. Trying to stay out of trouble, but there's got that many inmates. There's stuff going on that shouldn't be. And so at nighttime, they're tasked with doing a count. So you have to do count every night. Okay. At about the first count, I believe, is at 10. So everybody, you call the count. It's count time. Everybody get on your racks. Everybody gets on their racks, and one officer. It's a 2-story building, so one officer is tasked with staying on the bottom to watch the other officer, and the other officer goes up and counts every rack, every person. You have to see. You're supposed to be able to see skin. You gotta see skin, physical skin. And if you don't, you just pull the sheet back. If you do this, sleep, wake his ass up. So you go down, you do all the count, come back, call the count in, and sergeant who's in the main part of the institution, he has all the movement on a sheet. So he can actually, if the count is wrong, he can come back with you and say, hey, bed number 22, there should be somebody in that bed.
Yeah.
You can go back and do a negative count, do it all over again, and then find out, oh yeah, that dude paroled or something. You know, you have to find out where that guy is, because if he's not where he's supposed to be, could be something wrong.
Right.
So that goes on. At about 11 o'clock, the floor is locked down, the actual house unit, so everybody has to be in their racks. And then the rest of the night is just the officers do about every 2 hours a count.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours, go do a count, do a count, go do a count. And then it just starts all over again in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Visitation, when does that occur?
So visiting rooms, depending on the institution, can be open from Monday through Friday and weekends. Some of them got shut down towards the end because we didn't have enough staffing, so it went to Monday every other day and weekends. And they have a visiting room outside each yard, so the visitors were processed in through a visiting area, checked for weapons and drugs, and they have to go through metal detectors and all that stuff, check their background because they can't have any felonies on them. Processed through, they go to the house, to the visiting rooms, and then the inmates are processed from the yards to that same visiting room, and then they hang out in the visiting room. They have coin-operated machines, snack machines, and things like that. So kids and parents all hanging out together in the visiting room. Yeah.
They're in the same room together, or are they separate?
No. Well, in the level that I was, it was a level 2, 3. So you're not the worst of the worst, but so we had open visiting rooms. You could just like being you were sitting here. That's how you visited.
Okay.
Yeah, no glass like you see in the movies. No, not like that. Not on the phone thing. No, no. You just sat in the room. Everybody, one big room, people hanging out, and just talking and doing things like that. They have games for the kids and play do that stuff.
So, in this environment, does it get violent?
Oh yeah, you get that many people together, that many guys together, and that many different factions, because the California Department of Corrections is all about gangs.
Yeah.
You're either in a gang, or you're getting beat up every day until you join a gang. So you're pretty much in a gang.
Okay.
In a system, you will join a gang. You will be forced to join a gang.
And is there a hierarchical structure within?
Of course, yeah. You have the leaders all the way down, and depending on what faction, you have the North, the South, you have Bloods, Crips, you have the Aryan Brotherhood, you have the Mongols, you have all kinds of different smaller factions. And they pretty much all had a hierarchy, like from the top to the bottom, from lieutenants all the way to grunts, and all the way to the number one guy. So yeah, they had their own little thing.
And so that kind of drives the question of how do you place the inmates? Because if you place an inmate from one group,
well, here's how the things changed so much when I first started. When I first started, the prison gangs had just started coming to of age back in the 80s. Is when the big influx of inmates started to come in. We started building new systems, and every time you build a new system, a new prison, somebody's going to try to control that prison. From one gang is going to try to control that prison. It could be the Northerners, could be the Southerners, could be the Crips, the Bloods, depending on where it's at.
Yeah.
So with our system, it was 80% Hispanic, 15% black, and the rest white and others.
Yeah.
So the Hispanics are going to try to run that prison every yard, and we had 6 different yards. So every yard, somebody's going to run it. Mm-hmm. And typically the Hispanics in that section, because there are so many Hispanics that they overpower everybody else.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are running the drugs, the sex trade, the cigarettes, the everything. Just like in the movies, kind of.
Yeah.
And then. Typically somebody's going to have a problem with somebody else. You didn't pay your drugs.
How do you decide?
Okay, so when I first came in, you could segregate.
Yeah.
That was in the 80s, Remember I talked about the change, right?
Yeah.
You can't do it anymore. Now it's against the law to segregate, right? You can't do that.
Okay.
So now we have to put them all together.
Okay.
And that's when the problems really came to fruition, where you got 3 or 4 different gangs trying to run that yard. Yeah, you can have problems. But the liberals said, nope, can't do that. You can't segregate. So we couldn't segregate.
So where and how do they express their power?
Well, through violence, yeah.
Primarily through violence.
Through violence, yeah. I mean,
Not through providing favors or through, what do you call it, bartering.
no, they didn't barter a whole lot, because you had factions that just didn't like each other. No matter what you did, they were going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So there are certain factions that just had problems with each other for whatever reason, and at any point, if somebody looked at somebody wrong, that was enough to light something, light the fuse, and then next thing you know, you got a problem. So, that was a regular thing, and not to mention just some of the gangs, they controlled their own. They had even let's say that a Southerner did something wrong, the Southerners would check him, and so they did their own kind of policing too sometimes at points in that time.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was going to be something big, it's usually between two different factions, North and South, Bloods and Crips, things like that.
So you got these cell blocks, and you got these people in their cells.
Hmm?
You're saying that they could be from these various gangs. They could be.
Well, at the prison I was at, there was no cells. It's like we're like in the room that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Beds.
Oh, no cells, just beds.
Bunk beds. In this room right here.
How many people could you have in a cell?
14, 15, 16 people in a room, in this little tiny cell. This area right here, triple bunk sometimes, depending on how many inmates. Yeah, and so imagine. Now the liberals are telling us you can't segregate. It's against the law.
Yeah.
So we have Northerners, Southerners, Crips, Bloods, all in one little tiny area. Yeah, something's going to happen. Somebody's going to have a problem.
Really?
Yeah.
So what kind of physical violence do you see? Anything from a slap to a murder?
Yeah, everything. Everything you can possibly imagine. Yeah.
And is it all done via the physicality of the individual, or do they manage to get some sort of tool or a weapon or something?
No, they are very. These guys have been in. There's some people that have been in a long time, and their trade is making weapons. That's what they do.
Really?
They make weapons, and they can make it out of anything. A toothbrush. They can make a pretty good weapon out of a toothbrush. So when anybody has a problem, they go to these guys. Hey, I need a piece. What do you got? Well, what do you want? Yeah, cost you a couple of packs of cigarettes. I make you something, and within 2 days, the guy's got a piece of nice weapon. Some of the things I've seen have been knife quality, beautiful pieces. Yeah.
Wow.
Anywhere from that to just a big bar of just, and a bat, anything you have, sometimes anything you can get your hands on, depending on the situation. So these guys, people that do that, that's their thing, make weapons.
So this is violence inmate on inmate. What happens in the context of violence and the corrections officers?
Oh, we get hit too.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, they put hits out on officers all the time. Yeah, if a faction has a problem with an officer, you'll get the call that, hey, somebody's got a hit on this officer. And sometimes it's just a scare tactic. They're trying to get the guy out to PC, we'll call it PC. We say PC, PC up to protect the custody, right? That's what we call PC. When an inmate PC's up, he's like, I want to get off the yard. Why? Because this guy wants to kill me, so we put him in the hole. Yeah. Same thing with officers. They try to scare us into leaving, basically. They want us to leave. So they'll say, Officer so-and-so's got a hit on him. Yeah, whatever, either, do whatever. Yeah. But, no, we've had officers get hit. Officers have died in the line of duty in the Department of Corrections. It has happened. We're not as targeted as inmates, obviously, but it does happen. Yeah. We get set up sometimes.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. They'll create a little situation to have an officer run into that situation, and then that's the guy who's getting hit. So when I first came in the department, it was a free-for-all. We had no real system of how to keep us safe. It was all about, hey, get in there and handle business. Yeah. You and 100 inmates, oh well, that's what we do. Yeah. And we didn't have anything but a flashlight in our hand. And then as the time started changing and the Department of Corrections started thinking, hey, this isn't the smartest thing to do. Why don't we do it different? Then they started giving us tools to use. We had batons, we had tear gas, we had weapons that could shoot bean bags and things like that. And they started to come up with these systems that, hey, don't go in there after all. Wait a minute. Let's all group up. Let them kill each other and do whatever they're doing. We'll group up and we'll go in mass. Yeah, a lot smarter. Yeah. So they started developing these systems and training to give us more tools to use and to try to keep us safer than just run into a situation where you don't want to be in a riot where there's 100 inmates and you're the only one.
One of the things I've read that seems to be fairly ubiquitous and extensive within the system is the aspect of contraband coming into the prisons, including drugs and things like that. How do they do it?
Well, sure. Here's the thing about CDC. There would be ways to stop it. Just like, let's use the government here as for example. Are there ways to stop drugs from coming in the United States? Probably. Yeah. But do they really want to implement that? No, they're kind of, I'm sure they're getting whatever they're getting out of it too. Yeah. And the same thing with the prison system. If they really wanted not to have anything come in, there are definitely ways to do it. But they seem to think that, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want to stop anybody from coming to a visit because the behind glass visits would be perfect. Yeah. But we can't do that anymore. Because again, changes, right? So one way that they bring it in is they have a visitor come in and it's a female. Well, she has certain areas that she can hide things that we don't have privy to most of the time, yeah? Okay. So she goes into the visiting room, gets it all the way in, sitting there with her old man, chatting and stuff, and we've seen it on video many a time because there are cameras in the visiting room where she happens to extrude this big old bag of dope, gives it to him, and he swallows it in order to get it on the yard because he knows he's going to get searched on the way out of the visiting, yeah? Right. So he swallows it. Takes it back over there and does what he has to do to get it out, and then makes money. Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's one way.
Now, the other aspect of it, there's also a lot of literature that says some of these higher up echelon gang members actually run their crime organization, their gang organization, out of the prison.
From the prison, yeah. Yeah, they're still making decisions from the prison.
How do they manage to be able to do that, given that they're actually out of the street, isolated in the prison, and still able to...
isolation is not a real good word to use in the prison system anymore because you are not that isolated as you might think. Yeah. They have phones. They have mail. They have all kinds of things now we had a big, as I was leaving the Department of Corrections, we had a big problem with cell phones. They were getting cell phones into the institution, and the inmates were using them. Yeah. So isolation is not a good word to use anymore because you are not isolated when you're in a prison anymore. It's not like that. You have plenty of ways to talk to people on the street because we can't keep you from talking to anybody on the street, right? Yeah. So with that in mind, all they have all day to do is to figure out, how can I get this message out? Let's see. Yeah, code. Right? So they're talking on the phone, and the person that they're talking to already knows every third word. That's what we're going to use, okay? Yeah, sure. So he's talking to the phone, and every third word, he already has it written down what he wants to say. So he's talking, every third word, the guy's writing it down, every third word, do a hit on so-and-so on 6th Street tomorrow. Not hard. Not a hard thing to figure out, yeah. Very easy.
So, what kind of support do you get in the context of the prison system from areas like social services for this rehabilitation effort, or is that actually part of the Department of Corrections?
For the inmates?
For the inmates.
They have all kinds of programs. There are so many programs for them now, it's kind of ridiculous. They have all kinds of psychologists and social programs and education programs and Job Corps things and all kinds of stuff that's trying to help them rehabilitate and become a proper member of society. So there's lots of stuff for them. It's not like I said, it has changed so much drastically from when I first came in.
So you see a prison population. What's the demographics, age-wise, that you saw as you were leaving? Were they primarily older ones?
Well, it depends on the prison again. The prison system is what kind of justifies what the age is. Yeah. Because when you have a level 4, let's say death row, those guys have been there a long time. Most of them in the level 4s and 3s. These are the guys that have been in there 10, 15, 20 years already. Yeah. So their demographic is going to be a lot older than a level 2, because level 2 is all youngsters, first-timers, drugs, that little things, right? So at a level 2, I would say the average demographic would be maybe in their 20s. Level 4 is probably more in their 30s or 40s. Depends on the system.
Yeah.
The crimes, things like that. So you have a lot of older gentlemen that have been in 30 or 40 years for the crimes that they've done.
Yeah.
And, they're sitting in some pretty heavy areas like the level 4s, level 3s.
Yeah.
So it's just the demographic is what kind of system, what level it is, and that's kind of you can kind of figure out. Lots of youngsters are level 2s and 1s and 2s, level 3s and 4s a little bit older.
What kind of personalities do you see in the prison system in terms of, is it kind of similar types, or does it vary all over the place?
It's just all over the place. I mean, you have that many people in a closed area. You see, everything from, guys with little men complexes to guys who are kind of, not quite mentally there, right? Big guys, 6'8" with not a whole lot of brain power. You have guys that their sole purpose is to make friends with the cops. I don't know what that's about. They want to tell you everything. Guess what so and so did? Guess what this did? Guess what I know about this? Because they got that personality where they want to be friends and be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
You have people that all of a sudden go into the prison system and find religion.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
because that's kind of a little safety mechanism, right? They're going to you're in that little group now, so you're kind of safe, trying to not to be caught up in on any of the craziness. It's such a wide variety of just craziness.
How about the violent ones? I mean, the violent ones. Can you kind of tell those that are predisposed to violence?
I don't really think so. It's no different than if you went into McDonald's. And you can't really tell. You can kind of, maybe that guy's not quite right, but you don't think he's going to be violent. And next thing you know, he's pulling a gun out and shooting the place up. So it's the same thing in the prison system. We tend to, as cops and law enforcement, we try to read you, people. That's our job, is try to find out what you're about prior to having to find out what you're about.
Yeah.
So we kind of know, right? And so we tend to try to read people's mental and emotional and stability and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Because these guys have been in a long time. Some of them have been in a while, so they hide it very well.
Yeah. Have you run into manipulators? Guys who
of
are
course.
Real manipulators.
Of course.
And
Yeah, of course.
And how do they express themselves? What do they try to do? What do they try to create?
Well, these guys, they try to work the system, that as much as they can. The other guy's trying to get an extra tray of food, or trying to get extra medication, or trying to get that ride to the hospital that they really don't need, but they want to go to the hospital, so they manipulate the system that way. There's getting a lower bunk, little things like that. It may not seem much to you, but when you're an inmate, it's the little things that are like the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Having a lower bunk is like the world. Yeah. Because you're going to be there 5 years, so having a lower bunk is like a big deal. And the smallest things you'd be like, well, why would they be fighting over that? Yeah, it's because that's all they got. That's their world. So they scratch and claw for the goofiest of things. But that's what they do.
Then in the context of rehabilitation versus recidivism versus committing even worse crimes in prison than they did on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
How would you, if you can, characterize that in what is the success rates of getting people rehabilitated and keeping them from committing, getting themselves into trouble in the system itself?
Yeah, I can only speak of the one I was at, right?
Yeah.
And at that one, to me, it just seemed like nobody wanted to leave. Right? It just seemed like nobody wanted to go, because they have 3 meals a day, they got TV, they got a bed, they have medical, and then their options, especially the way the times are now, it's not easy out there, right?
Right.
Times are hard. So they're like, I don't want to go. Why would I want to go out there when I got all this in here? Because if you've been in 15 years or 20 years, the chance of you going out there and getting a decent job, probably not very good. Yeah? You're going to be struggling. So a lot of them would be, as they're paroling, they go like, yeah, we'll see you in a month. I'll be back. And, oh, yeah, here they come right back. Hey, what's up? Yeah, he was not lying. He's right back. And so the recidivism rate was probably, I don't know, 75%.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was very,
Wow.
very high. Very high.
Wow.
And not because they were just getting caught up and busted. It's because some of them that's their life. They like being in a prison system. They've been institutionalized. That's what we call it, yeah?
Yeah.
That's all they've known for 20 years, 30 years.
Uh-huh.
And to say, okay, now you're going to go work at McDonald's. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm coming right back. I'd rather be here. So, yeah, it happens all the time.
How about the corrections officers, careerists versus a revolving or change frequent changes?
Well, I think we all came in with a career in mind because it is very well. But for me, I just had my high school diploma, and for the money that I made very good money. And now that I have a pension too, but
yeah.
We all go in, I think, with a career in mind because the medical is very good, the benefits are very good, the pay is very good, the retirement is very good. So we all come in thinking that we're going to do that as a career, I believe. I didn't really come in thinking, I wanted to be a correctional officer. That was the furthest thing from my mind. But it just so happened that I fell into it, and it worked for me because of my military experience too. So it kind of just fell into it, and I just kind of, when I first got in, I thought, yeah, I'll do it for a couple of years, and then 28 years later. But but like any law enforcement job, police and anything like that, it's not easy to make a career out of it because it's very, very stressful. It's a stressful job, and there's no self-satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
When a guy builds a building, he can look at it and say, I built that.
Mm-hmm.
When a guy paints a painting, you can say, I did that. You have something to show for it. In corrections, all you have to do is, I made it out the gate.
Right.
I made it out today. That was all you got. Huh? And very stressful, high-stress situation because you walk on the yard, and there's 3,000 inmates on this yard, and 2,999 of them would want to slit your throat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a very happy place. Very negative vibe in there. So a lot of my friends turn to drugs and alcohol. Suicide happens all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's divorces. All these things kind of roll into that lifestyle. And it happens on the street too. You hear about cops and their problems. Yeah. It's the same thing inside. It doesn't really change that much.
The same way. Yeah.
It's just that's the life that you live. You live, and hopefully, when you walk out, and this is what I did. I just left. When that gate closed behind me on the way out, I left it.
Yeah.
Even whatever problem I had with an inmate, a lot of people can't do this. Let's say I had a problem with an inmate and he maybe got the better of me because it's going to happen. Sure. You're not always going to win. They're going to win sometimes. So when they hit that gate lock behind me, when I hit that, boom, that's it. I'm done with it. And I would walk out and go home.
Yeah.
Go to my life. Yeah, he's still in there. I'm going home. Mm-hmm. Go to my life, enjoy my kids, things like that. Yeah. And so I kept my head straight that way. That's how I did. I would, go to the gym, and I had some other activities that I kept my head together with. And some other people don't do that, and that's when they tend to lean more towards the alcohol and the drugs. And then I've had quite a few of my friends commit suicide because of the whole ball of wax, right? All that together plus divorces and then the whole stress thing, it's just a lot to put on. Some people can't handle that.
Now, there's also a lot of literature on the fact that purporting to say that given the gang structure that they actually recruit or encourage gang members to apply to be corrections officers at the institutions in which those gangs
has
are
happened,
controlled.
yeah. And the way that they figured it out was, the guy would be a mole for, let's say, 5 years. He's straight, no problems, doing everything like he's supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing a little bit of drugs in the housing units. And that's how, as officers, we start noticing. We're supposed to notice these things, right? Yeah. We start finding drugs, So it's inevitable. We'll go through this first, and then I'll show you how we get set up. But so the guy's a mole, and he starts to bring stuff in. We start looking for it, and we start finding it. And then it's like, man, something's going on. Something's different. Yeah. Something has changed that's not the norm. Because we can find little bits of drugs, but when you start finding stashes, then something big's happening, Mm-hmm. Somebody's bringing in a big load of it, because when you're finding it here and here and here and here, usually we'll find it here a little bit. Okay, that's normal, visiting. Yeah. But when you start finding big stashes of it, somebody's muling it a lot. Okay. So the possibilities are medical staff maybe, We also have people that are like counselors,
Mm-hmm.
and then our own.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the three things we start looking at. Oh shoot, how's this? What are we doing? You know, what's the problem? And so, as that starts to happen, then we start talking to our security people. We have people that are in investigations. We have our own investigation team. So we start dropping dimes on our people, saying, "Hey, you know what? Something's going on. We don't know what it is, but there's a lot of dope showing up all of a sudden, big piles, yeah." And so then they start looking into it. So then they start doing backgrounds, right? They start going deeper into the background situation. So they look into the housing unit situation, who's on the yard. They go start running backgrounds, and all of a sudden this guy's name comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, yeah. Well, he was born and raised in L.A. He was in Maravilla, which is a gang or white fence. He was in that neighborhood. He's about the right age. Let's keep an eye on him, right? So then they start looking for him to come through the gates. And as they come through the gates, they're going to look at your lunchbox a little bit more than they would mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, boom, one day, you don't know what's coming, and they pull you to the side. Hey, we need to check your lunchbox. If you refuse, you're already dead. They got you right there because they're waiting on you. They're going to cuff you up. So next thing you know, you're opening your lunchbox, and there you go, boom. Now you're in trouble, right? It's a felony, so you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's one way it happens. The other way it happens is officers get set up. And we had females. I worked with females too. So females and males both do this, okay? So inmates have nothing better to do than to listen to you talk.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting at a table next to you, and you and your buddy are talking about about whatever, right? Oh, yeah, how was your night? Oh, man, you know, my old lady's tripping, man. She's got problems, and, man, I don't know what to do. It's just it's a jacked up situation, and who knows? You know, it's just messed up. You got ears all over the place listening for this. All they do, listen.
Yeah.
Right? So the next thing you know, you're walking the tier. Hey, how you doing? I'm cool, man. Yeah, you know, my old lady, man, she's tripping me out, man. What? Yeah, she called me on the phone the other day, and she's got problems. How are you doing? Now, here's where you get caught. You either go one way or you go the other. You can go the right way and just go, you know what, none of your business. You might want to kick rocks, which is I've done many a time.
Right.
Or you go, yeah, you know, I'm having the same problem, man.
Yeah.
You know, my old lady's tripping too. Boom. There's where it starts. He's got the hook in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
He's hooking you. Really? Oh, dude, man, you look like a stand-up kind of guy. Why would anybody mess with you? Why would your old lady not respect you and this and that? Yeah, I know, man. It's just one of those things. Yeah. Okay. A couple of days later, hey, so how's your wife? Oh, man, you know, I'm still tripping. Oh, yeah, really? That's messed up, man. You know, maybe I can do something for you. What do you need? Maybe, I don't know. Well, what do you mean do something for me? What are you talking about? Well, I don't know. Yeah, you need something? Not really. He said, well, you know, I'll tell you what, man, you know, we're friends. Are you cool with me? Yeah, you're all right, dude. You're good. Okay, well, you know, I haven't had a burrito from Taco Bell in a while, man. I kind of like that. Why don't you bring a burrito in and put it in the trash can here?
Yeah.
And you're like, and here again, that crossroads, right? You can go kick rocks.
Yeah.
Or go, yeah, you know, I don't think so. Well, yeah, well, you kind of gave me some information about your wife. It'd kind of be messed up if I went to the lieutenant and told me you were telling me your personal problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
No kidding. That's what they're looking for.
Hooked you, right? So now you bring in a burrito. Innocent enough, you would think.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Drop the burrito in the trash can, walk away. He goes and gets it, eats it.
Uh-huh.
A couple of days later, he's on the tier. You're walking around. He's waiting on you.
Uh-huh.
Hey, yeah, what's up? Hey, nothing. You know what? I need some cigarettes. Yeah, I'm not giving you any cigarettes. Really? Because I have a burrito wrapper from Taco Bell. How would I have gotten that? Maybe an officer brought it in for me. Maybe I'll have to tell. Now you're caught.
Yeah, now you're
right?
lying.
You can still get out of it if you go and tell on yourself. You tell Lieutenant F up. But not too many people are going to do that. They're going to take, oh shit, I screwed up. So how can I fix this? I'll just keep them quiet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you need? Just give me a couple packs of cigarettes, man. I'll leave it at that. No one asks you for anything else, right? All right. Same thing in the trash can. Okay. A couple of days later, says, I want some dope. Give me some drugs, man. I want some drugs. I ain't bringing you in shit. Oh, really? I got a burrito wrapper. I got cigarettes that we don't have here, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have all this shit here. So now I'm just going to go give you up.
Yeah.
You're done. And you will be fired. And and it is a felony because you're bringing shit in. Now you're caught.
Yeah.
So what? You keep doing it. Now you're bringing in dope. You're bringing in this. And you're bringing that. And then finally at the point where he asks you for something outrageous, something crazy, because they keep upping it.
Yeah.
Hmm? And then you're like, bringing that. And then they're like, telling on you. And then you're done. Yeah, you might as well just give it up because it's over. You're now completely done. That was the men. Now the women, crazier, right? Because they have that way of cooking you even better than that, right? Because they're like just gonna. You got these guys that have ego problems, officer-wise, right? Having problems at home and this and that, and the chicks are listening, you know, and they're like, "Oh, dude, you're fine looking. Why would your wife not respect you? You're so cool looking, and look at you. You work out, don't you? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I work out a bit. Yeah, I do that. Really? Yeah, because you look fine. If you were my old man, I'd take care of you all the time. I'd do all this and this and this and this for you." So then comes around again. Yeah. Hey, you want me to? I'll be your porter. You want me to clean up for you? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you can do that for me. Okay, yeah, same thing. Boom, start doing things for you. Making sure that whenever you come, she's right there at the desk waiting for you to say, "Hey, how you doing today?" And then it's sex. Yeah, you get caught in the sex because she pulls you in.
But where was
anywhere in the housing unit?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's two tiers. You got a bottom tier and a top tier. Yeah. Even though it's a room, there's a big block wall right here. So there's a little entrance, but there's a nice little wall. That's enough. You can hide if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Go up to the other tiers or whatever. And so, yeah, they hook you with the sex, and next thing you know, you're doing that. And then after that, they're asking you for stuff. Bring this and bring that and bring that in. Same thing. Start bringing stuff in, get caught up, and then finally to that point where you're like, I can't do that, and then they're telling you and you're fired. Or, quite a few times, officers would be, and this is how crazy it is, officers are doing cell searches, because we do cell searches. We go through their lockers, and you pull up this, you go through their pictures and stuff like that, because a lot of times they haul dope inside the smallest of places, right?
Yeah.
So you got to go through everything. So you're going through these pictures, and all of a sudden you're looking and like, that's Officer. Isn't that him? Yeah, that's him. Because he brought a picture of himself in, because it's a girl now. Yeah, she caught him, she's hooked him, and you're going, okay. What the hell? So you take that to investigations, and then boom, right? He's caught up.
Yeah.
We had this one guy, and he was an older dude. Yeah, he was just one of those guys, and older guy. His wife, had been married. He'd been married 30 years, whatever. He'd been in the apartment a long time.
Yeah.
Senior guy. And one of the females hooked him on the yard. They hooked him, and they started, messing with him. So she set him up because I guess he pissed her off somehow. So he was bringing in lingerie, gold necklace, and perfume in his lunchbox.
Yeah.
So she went the night before he was coming in, told on him, and the investigations was waiting on him right there at the gate. So here he comes, right? He comes in, and they're like, "Open your lunchbox." And he says, "No," and they, "Bullshit! Open your lunchbox. This is not a request."
Yeah.
So he opens it up, and there it is. Everything on the right on top. Yeah. So he says, "Oh, that's my stuff." Like, you wear lingerie, do you, inside the institution? Yeah, there's no way around that one. And he got caught. He got busted. And so it happens. It can, and it doesn't. It's funny because you would think it'd just be like an officer who's just starting, and, a couple of years in. No, these guys, 15 years, 20 years. Lieutenants, captains, counselors, all these big guys you would think that would be smart enough not to get caught up, and they're bringing stuff in for inmates.
So let's end it on this. If you had young people who were thinking about going into this type of profession, how would you counsel them? What would you say to them? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a great career, and it is. I cannot say anything bad about it because it's given me what I have now. I kept my head straight through the whole 28 years, and it's paid off for me. I did the right things when I had to, and don't think that I wasn't approached quite a few times by dudes and inmates and female inmates, and I had I was in quite a few riots, and I did my hands-on things too because we had to do that, but I always made the right decision. I always did the right thing.
Yeah.
So when it came to that, I was always smart enough to keep my head straight because my thing was career-wise, my pension, my paycheck, my personal respect was worth so much more than an inmate.
Yeah.
So much more. I'd have female inmates tell me, "Hey, you want to go upstairs and do this?" And I'd be like, "You know what? There's nothing you got that's worth my paycheck."
Yeah.
There's nothing that you could even ever even think about doing for me that is worth my paycheck, my career, my self-respect, and the people that care about me here, there's nothing you can do for me. So
Okay.
you need to step. That's what I tell them. You know, you need to step, get out. And I was approached quite a few times. I was a kid, youngster back then. You know? So and male inmates too. Hey, you know, if you want, you know, we can hook you up with a job on the street. If you know, you're trying to set me up, and I'd be like, you know what, dude, you need to step away from me, dude. You need to get away. I'm gonna give you 3.
Yeah.
Count to 3. If I don't see smoke when I turn around, you're going to the hole.
Yeah.
1, 2, and boom, they'd be gone.
Yeah.
So kept my head, career minded. Trying to get out. It's not an easy job. It's very stressful. There's no self appreciation, or you're not going to get anything out of it. Nobody's going to come and tell you did a great job that day. It just doesn't happen. It's just you have to know.
You have to worry.
You got to know. Yeah, you got to know that you're doing your job and you're doing it right, and you make great friends in there. I have a lot of my friends that I made correctional officer friends are still brothers to me because you depend on these people to have your back. It's almost like being in the military, because I did the military too.
Yeah.
These guys, the guys that are going to be there for you when it hits the fan, are the guys you're going to really respect. And there's going to be guys that are going to run the other way.
Yeah.
There are guys that run the other way when you're looking, you're going, we're supposed to be going that way, and these fools are going that way, right? But the guys that you make really good friends with, it's like a brotherhood. I respect those guys fully.
Yeah.
And even now, I know that they have my back. If I needed it, they'd be there for me. They're straight up arrows, right? Straight arrows, cool as hell. So you make some really good friends in there. But you just have to know that inmates, all they have to do is gun for you all day. That they sit there and think about ways to screw you over, to get you caught up, to get you fired, to get you in trouble. You know, they try to set you up. You have to have enough street smarts to know when it's coming and to see it and to stop it. And when you hit that crossroads I was talking about, you got to remember, hit stop, think.
Yeah.
Think for a second. Don't just go, go, this is an inmate. Why is he telling me this? What is his motivation? Where's he going with it? And then figure it out before you make that decision. And you'll always make the right decision if you stop and give it a minute to think about what's coming.
The other end of the spectrum is, when do you know it's not for you? Because some people will persist in trying to pursue doing something, and they forget that until it's too late, this wasn't for me.
Well, I think in any law enforcement, it's never too late to get out. I mean, you're going to know relatively quickly. I'd say within the first 5 years, you should have an inkling of, when you wake up in the morning, are you going, I'm going to work, it's cool, or are you going, damn, I got to go to this crazy place again. I can't go. I don't want to go today. You start calling in sick. You start kind of shirking your responsibilities. You're not doing your job. Those are all good indicators that, probably not for you. And I've counseled youngsters in the department before, like, hey, you know what? Maybe you might want to think about not doing this.
Yeah.
Because it's not for everybody.
Right.
It's just not. And,
I'm sure that's the case, yeah.
And me, as one of the senior officers and in that situation, I tended to want people that wanted to be there and wanted to have my back and were ready to fight. At a moment, it is a fight. Sometimes you have to fight, and those are the kind of people. If I saw somebody who wasn't doing that, I would kind of tell them, hey, you know what? Maybe you need to go to another yard.
Yeah.
Because this isn't your yard. Because I don't want you here. If you're not going to have my back the way I have your back, maybe you need to go to a different place, because we're not going to want you here. And it was that way with officers. We had our own little code of conduct and ethics, and we expected people to give as much as you receive. And what I mean by that is, I was the kind of officer that, hey, I got your back. If we're going into a situation, I'm going with you. The door opens, I'm the first one through. If I see an inmate, on top of you, I'm going after that guy. That kind of situation where you got, because this big wide spectrum of different personalities and different cultures and different backgrounds and different street, different, living in different areas.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people who wouldn't do that.
Sure.
Or just don't have that in them. And so, you would kind of want those guys not to be around too much, not want to work with those guys. Because, if the situation comes up, you want to be able to handle business.
Thank you.
Yeah, that works.
I could spend the next 2 days talking to you
Yeah,
about
that's
this.
still a lot to talk about. There's so much. Yeah, it's a whole different.